Alright, here is the video review for, at least much anticipated by me at least, MP-52 STARSCREAM version, it says version 2.0, but it's 3 now? I mean, I guess MP-11 was a revision, but that shared most of the thing, but I really think we could call this version 3 a STARSCREAM. Anyway, either way, here he is in jet mode, and he's got his landing gear down, his little null rays. Now, there is a connection here that you can use to make it quote-unquote perfect transformation where you don't have to remove these things for transformation. But the way these peg in, like one of mine is secure and one of mine's just a smidge loose, like they're probably going to fall off. If you're really careful, they won't. We'll see if we can do it. But it's up to you. If not, you can just kind of unpeg this, fold this up here, and then rotate that flat against the side of the body, because it will still, even with this in, it's still pegged into the wing, and it's pretty securely held there without this piece. But there he is with his landing gear down, and you can see the underside of the jet is clearly a STARSCREAM robot. Although I found, some people were talking about the clunkiness of the jet and how the previous jet was a better jet, and maybe so, but like I'm still pretty happy with it. It's got a very nice jet profile. It's very swooshable, especially if you fold up these landing gear. You just fold that up in there, push this back up into there. These fit loose, which is nice because then they just kind of fall down and then you just clip them into the last place, into the permanent place there, and they're secure. I will say the first time I did that, I was like, does this go further forward? Oh no, and then it clipped into place. I'm like, oh, thank God, because I was worried I was going to break it. But you just fold these up into the bottoms of his feet, or it will be the bottoms of his feet, and then you close up these little doors, and then they're all folded up. And again, it's a pretty nice little jet. It's clearly got some bits and bobbles underneath it, including a fake canopy, which is more for visual purposes, because when you transform this canopy does end up right behind this one. So it's kind of like they were showing off a little bit. Like, we didn't need to put a fake canopy here. We could have done this without cheating, but for visual purposes, which is kind of the goal of the newer MPs, it does have a false canopy there. Also, this is functional as a clip for the stand, and unlike some of the other characters that are functional with that MP stand, you can actually, he comes with this clip which is functional with the stand we've gotten with I think, was it Dinobot who came with it? Dinobot or Megatron? One of those two came with it. But STARSCREAM does come with his own purple version, and so there's another way to get this stand, and then this just clips on right here, and I had to tighten this screw to support him. But yeah, you can have STARSCREAM on a little flight stand. I don't know how often I'll use it. That will probably live in the box, but it's there if you want it. And it does have some side-to-side tilt, so if you want him in a more dynamic, like banking flying pose, you can do that too. And just clips right out. Also, there's a slot there in the middle, and that allows, he does come with another small, this is all one single piece Megatron, but you can see there's some tabs there on the side, so in vehicle mode, you can, if you want to, tab Megatron underneath STARSCREAM, like that. But yeah, all in all, it's not the sleekest jet, but it's got a good place to put your fingers right here. It's a good place to grip it, and I don't think it's any worse than any other previous STARSCREAM we've gotten. Well, I mean, like I said, some of them have found a way to minimize that bulk, but I'm perfectly happy with it. It's a nice looking jet. It's a little hard. It doesn't stay together as solidly. Like, these pieces are a little wobbly for how they transform. It's easy to knock those loose, and the way these whole side pieces actually fold up into the wings, so the way these tab in the back can be a little easy to knock loose a little bit. It's not going to fall apart on you, but it is a little easier to knock some pieces out of place here in jet mode than it was on the previous one. It's a minor drawback because I do think it looks good. I think the colors are good, especially under a good light source. Because in some lighting sources, I think the gray almost looks too dark. But here on the review table, I'm thinking it's a pretty nice color here. He also comes with we'll get into the blast effects for the weapons later, but he does come with some little purple effects that can plug into his thrusters. Again, that's part of the transformation. You have to these collapse for transformation, which we're kind of doing here, but you can, doesn't look like there's a certain way those have to go in, but you can plug in some little, I guess actually there's a rivet there, they can't go in too deep, but you can give them some jet intake or jet exhaust flame things coming out. Those would not be intakes. Intakes would be up there. Those were the intakes he'd be flying backwards. Anyway. Also, you can put those into his feet in robot mode if you want to look like he's hovering and use the stand. But the stand I found doesn't give quite enough height to really lift him up, but to really hover. But if you wanted to, or you used a different stand or whatever, you could make that work. Anyway, on to transformation. Now, the webs, you also get instructions and bio card in there, and I only mentioned the instructions because I was just about to say, one of the steps in the instructions, there is a midpoint that is an official quote-unquote mode here. I showed a picture of it on Twitter. Other people have talked about it. It's not quite Gerwalk from Macross or Robotech. Like, the arms don't come out. It's just the jet mode. There's a mid-transformation point where you have to fold all this stuff up a certain way to just have him have two legs in jet mode while all this stuff folds up into the wings and hides. And it's just a little ridiculous. I'm not going to do that. I think it's from like one frame of animation in like the opening credits, but it's there if you want it. But here's his jet mode. We're going to go right to robot mode. One last thing about his jet mode before we get there is that he does have this radar nose cone thing, which is a gimmick I have long not been cool. I didn't like it on the original. However, on the original, it was useless. It was just, hey, look, it's got a radar in the nose cone. But it always felt like that was this thin little hinge was a potential failure point if you got caught on something. Here, it actually does serve as part of the transformation, so I'm a little more forgiving of it. I still don't think, I know jets have a radar in the nose cone. That's great. I've never seen the point of that. At least here, it's serving a function, and we'll get to that. So we're going to try to do this in a way that keeps these attached. I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll try. So we'll start here, and we'll untab this and kind of rotate this piece up and around, like that. Rotate this flat, up onto the arm, just so we can start knocking all around with all this stuff back here. This will rotate. It's just pegged in up here, but we'll see what we can't do. Again, untab it. Rotate this up. Plug it in. And we'll just leave those right there for right now. Back here, go ahead and lift these this whole assembly up off of the leg. It's kind of it clips on at the tail fin and it tabs in right here. And we're going to want to get this whole kind of midsection of the plane. If it separates, that's okay. The instructions have this staying together for a while, but you can go ahead and just kind of lift that up so we can get at the legs here. We'll go ahead and split the legs apart. And then this panel right here opens up. You can go ahead, bring the foot down, and when you bring the foot down, make sure there is a tab here that you don't just bring it down. You want to make sure that snaps all the way into place, or the toe will be very loose and won't support him. He's already got like a weak knee problem that maybe it's something I can fix by tightening a screw. But yeah. And then the thrusters, like as you saw with the other thing, you want to push those up as far as they'll go. There, should go up a little higher than that because there's a little. There we go. You can see it's extended. That maybe that will go in farther if you do it right. The jet thruster thing, but go ahead and take that, push that all the way up so that rivet comes down and hides the thruster up to form the heel. Bring the toe down again, or open this up over here. Bring the toe down. Clip it into place, bring the shin guard down, and same up here. Whoop. I've seen some pictures of somebody saying something down here and the heel broke, and I think it was this hinge. And I feel like it's probably going to be okay as long as you're careful with it. But bring this up, and then push this in. You want to rotate it so the hinge, the piece where it attaches goes inward and comes around the front. You will get this little rivet exposed on the outside of the leg, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Then this piece right here, you kind of push up like that and rotate this piece around there. Rotate it up into the leg. Before you fold this in, you can see here's his knee right here. This whole assembly up here in the back, just kind of rotate the leg. Come on. You should just rotate up and out. There we go. Yeah, just rotate that up and out. So the knee comes up, and now you can see you've got the space in the leg for this to just kind of, it angles up there, and then bring this down, lift it up, and tab that in right there. And then you've got a clean little leg there. And then the kneecap pushes up. And that's one leg done. And then we'll do the same over here. That up, bring that out, rotate. See how that whole panel rotates up and allows the knee to come up. Rotate this panel up and in, push this up, fold it around, fold that up, and right up into the leg like that. And you're good to go. And this is where, like I said, his knees here are the ratchet. There is a ratchet there. It's a little weak, and I can't tell. I actually don't know if I can access it. There may be a screw that I can tighten it. I'm not sure. Also, this should, when you plug this in, make sure this is all the way forward, because there is a tab here that fits on the inside of that tab. So you want to make sure that all tabs together, or you'll see what just happened. That little shin intake will push into the leg. Now, all of this stuff up here on the upper body. So, that can stay right where it was. These are going to come around. You can kind of lift them all the way up like this. And then this panel detaches from the back of the cockpit, folds down like this, and then even lowers. There's a dual hinge here. It's like sits up here for jet mode, and then comes down like that, sits like that for robot mode. And then there's some tabs here. Make sure that sits all the way flat like that. Let me bring this back down a little bit. And you can kind of see where everything's coming together here. So we'll go ahead and bring his arms out to the side here. And lift his head will extend up like this. So we'll get the arms out here like that. And you'll want to get, actually before we do that, bring the arms down a little bit, because these pieces right here are going to flip. Actually, rotate this whole assembly here. Should rotate this way, is it? Yeah, and then fold that around. And then rotate this way. Fold that around. And then this piece, once you get that done. Well, no, hold on. Something else needs to rotate here, because this needs to come up. Yeah, we'll figure that out in a minute. Oh, there we go. Right, that, and then that folds up. So yeah, bring that up over this like this. This out, fold that wing out, fold it there at this hinge, and then this piece is going to fold up behind there. So those are all kind of collapsed up. Then you can get the arms out here at the shoulders like that. And then you bring the head up here, because these panels right here inside flip up like that. And then you want to make sure, because you can see these hinges right here, you want to make sure this is flat so you can fold this piece down past that tab to form the sides of his torso. Because if this is up, you won't be able to fold it past there. Once that's up, you got this range of movement back, but you gotta have that down so that goes in. And you push his head back down in like that. All right, bring this down. Just kind of, we'll deal with this in a minute. And then this piece right here is going to rotate around like that. And then we're going to push. Which way does this go around like this? So the nose cone. Oh, right, we got to do this whole nose cone thing. So his head's going to squeeze through here. We're going to make sure his head, his vents fold in. But on the nose cone here, so you have to twist it. And this twist is a little scary the first time you do it. But you twist the nose cone out of the way here. Pretty sure it's this way. So I need to open it first. Nope, that's the right direction. Yeah, so yeah, you got to twist it to reveal this tab, and that can be really scary. Like I've done it a couple of times, and even right then I'm like, oh crap, I'm breaking it. No, okay, it's there. And then this will fold up like that. But open the cockpit like this. fold the seat up like that. Fold these two side panels down here like this. And then this will collapse up. Make sure the nose cone folds up in there. And that will collapse up in like that. And you can see the whole assembly will rotate, and that cockpit ends up sitting right behind the false cockpit. It slides up a little bit so it's in there. And then this whole assembly comes back down and around. And then this tab right here on this piece tabs into that slot we revealed on the back of this. And that's how that whole assembly holds together. And then his head may extend out on his neck, but you can just push that right back down. And here you can see Starscream come together. And we managed to keep the null ray blasters attached, which is kind of cool. So we'll go ahead, rotate his arm down and around. Rotate it around like that. And then the null ray blaster can actually slide down like that. And then this piece right here opens up, and you can rotate out. Well, there we go. There we did it. But rotate this piece out and around like that. Close it up and keep it on the arm. Ideally, that's what's supposed to happen. And then you can flip out his fist and rotate it around. Now, here's the one of the issues I have with my copy. It's minor. This sits flush with the hand folded in, but once I pop the hand out, it's supposed to tab on there, but it doesn't sit quite 100% flush the way it does in vehicle mode. And I'm not entirely sure why that is, because it tabs in just fine and holds flush like that in vehicle mode. But as soon as I flip that hand out, it wants to do that. So whatever, we'll figure that out. Bring this down. I'll rotate it around, make sure this whole assembly tabs all the way in together. And it should tab, there we go. Make sure the arm is folded up so it latches onto that bit there. And then rotate it, open it up. Come on. It'll be hard getting your finger under there. Rotate that around, close it up, and then latch that back onto the arm and bring it down like that. And there you go. That's how you can see that's how you transform it while leaving it attached and not popping it off like I did on the other side. Oh, I forgot to push this kneecap up. I'm like, why is one leg? You can see where his weak knees are a little bit of a pain. I'll flip out this hand in a minute. I'm leaving it that way for a reason. Anyway, once this is done, this piece folds down and kind of hides there on the back. This piece will fold down, and you can see there's a tab there. And it's going to be easier to do this now before we do all of this stuff. Make sure that tabs all the way in like that, and then tabs in securely onto the back. That little red tab goes all the way in. Make sure that's all collapsed properly. And then same on this side. Again, it's easier to put the pressure on this before we open up this wing and hide this tail fin. Push that in, get that lined up, push all that in. There we go. And you can see he's coming together. You can leave him like that and he looks kind of like Starscream, although he does still have these. But he's got this mess on his back. And this is really cool because these rotate around like this. And you lift them up, and then you open up. There's some panels here on the underside of the wing. They're on a double hinge, so make sure you bring that all the way down like that. With some, I don't know, tech missile detailing here. Not entirely sure why, but there it is. But yeah, there's a little, fold this down. And then these panels fold into the wing like this. Just fold them on those hinges. And then these fold down into the wing on this hinge, like so, all the way down. And then these fold back up. There's a little tab here that does fit in this slot on the inside of that wing. So it's a little visible from the back, but it hides that tail fin in there very nicely. It gives the wings a little bit of thickness. And the backpack actually doesn't look too bad. A lot of pictures made this backpack look egregious, and it really isn't once you collapse everything up properly. I think some pictures had the wings angled back a little bit more, which makes it look a little bigger. But it's actually a fairly nice way of doing it, and makes him like a very clean robot mode. Also, one of the things you can do is these. I showed you how these were flippy earlier. These come back on hinges, and you can see there's a little slot here on the inside of the inner piece that goes over this tab here to hold that in place. And it all kind of latches down. You get it done right, it should all latch down properly. onto, oh, there's a tab there as well, onto the back here. Come on, latch into place, please. And even if that doesn't latch all the way down, like, it brings that intake back, one, so he can turn his head to the side without just staring into the intake, as well as it just kind of integrates the backpack a little better. Visually, it looks a little more integrated. Let's make sure that all tabs in. And honestly, if that back tab doesn't tab in, it's not going to hurt anything, because you can angle it forward. And there's STARSCREAM remote. His face is trying to pop off, but his face likes to do that, I have found, because he has swappable faces. And this one in particular just likes to be a butthead. Now, the reason I left his hand flipped in on this side is because he does have a couple attachments. He has a little drill, and that just fits over that peg there. Come on, drill. There we go. So you can give him a drill arm. And he does have what's called the magic hand. It's just a little claw here that... oh, there we go. I had it sideways. Come on. There we go. It snaps into place. And it can be used to hold this little piece of, I'm assuming, I'm sure there's an episode it refers to as this little, I guess, radioactive meteorite or something. But those are the things you can do with the hands there. Now that that's done, we'll flip his other hand out and rotate it around. And you can see that's how this should fit. It should sit flush like that and not stick off like this side. And I still haven't figured out what's causing that. But there is a very nice robot mode for STARSCREAM. I think it looks, the backpack is not nearly as bad as pictures made it look. It looks very cartoonish. And again, you can see how this cockpit has a little bit, it's a little more rounded, a little smoother than the one on the jet mode to make it look more like the cartoon. So I get why they did it. And the fact that, like, I almost kind of like the fact that they did that and yet still showed that, like, the real cockpit's right behind there. They didn't have to put that on there, that it was a choice and not a fault in their design, which I think is kind of cool. Posability-wise, he's got the double hinge neck there. You can squeeze his little vents in. He's got the ratcheting shoulders. He actually even has some butterfly joints here, so you can bring his arms out. But ratcheting shoulders, bicep swivel, dual hinge elbows. He's got the wrist swivel. His fingers, his thumb just has two joints, and it doesn't rotate at all, and that's a little disappointing. I would have liked it if this could move at all versus just being able to go up and down. But his individual fingers also are double jointed and all individually posable. So he's got some articulation there in the hands, wrist swivel, of course. No waist, again, just because of all the stuff that's going on there in that area for transformation. But he's got these little skirts that can lift up, and then ratcheting hips, thigh swivel. Although, again, that kind of gets in the way of the squareness, just kind of stops that from going. Ratcheting knees that, again, like I said, are a little weak on mine. And then he's got ankle tilt, toe tilt there in the feet. But all in all, a very nice looking STARSCREAM. We saw the Megatron earlier, and he does have the slot, that same slot that allows it to attach in vehicle mode, can go in his hand. And he can hold Megatron in pistol mode. And you do get some blast effects for him as well, that just kind of fit over the nozzle. Well, okay, well, you know it fits in his hand, so we'll just show off the blast effects. You've got a long blast effect, kind of a short blast effect, and you can have that going whatever angle you want. And then kind of a weird ball blast effect at the end of the gun. And these also will attach to the end of his null rays. So unfortunately, you only get one of each. So if you want to have him have matching lasers coming out of his null rays, you either have to get two STARSCREAMs, or I'm going to assume they're going to come packaged with Skywarp and Thundercracker. So if you get all three Seekers, maybe they'll do them all in this same purple, and you can mix and match. But there you go. Again, he's got the same clip back here, that clip that the stand goes on, but it's so, this stand does not really come up even at its highest point. You can see it doesn't really come up any higher, and this doesn't extend to hold him. I mean, you can have him holding like this, or, you know, I guess if you just needed to support him, maybe? I don't even know if that, yeah, that doesn't even come up high enough to really support him. It's mostly for jet mode. There may be a way to extend that, but I haven't found a way to do it yet. So, yeah. Kind of, you have the option there. I don't know how much use it's going to be to you in robot mode. Also, he comes with several different faces that just, you see this one's already on crooked. I'm not sure why that is. But you just pop his face off. It comes off fairly easily. He's got like a little smirk face, which he can line up and pop into place there. So smirk face. We got, come on. You got offended face. What do you mean I'm no good, Megatron? Anyway, that was horrible. Woof. He's got, no comment. He's got like a, well, going in straight for one. He's got a surprised, definitely surprised face. Come on. Oh, now you don't want to come off. There we go. He's got smirk the other way face. It's a slightly different smirk too, but it's smirk on the other side. A slightly different expression. So actually, the first one was kind of a side smirk, whereas that's just more, yeah, it's kind of a mischievous smirk, whereas that's just more of a smile. And then finally, we've got, go ahead and plug this in. Come on, go on. Like a bigger smile, laughing face, which also does not want to go in straight. There we go. There we go. Which feels very Starscreamy. And again, like I said, his jet mode is a little less streamlined, a little more, hey, I've got a robot under me than his previous version, and certainly more than MP, the MP3, I think the first version that had some bigger chunk panels to kind of hide that undercarriage stuff. But here he is with his original, I guess not original, MP-11 Starscream here, which is not one to stay together. And thankfully he doesn't have the same, his jet mode is a little bit more finicky. His robot mode is a lot more solid than the old MP. And like, I was perfectly happy with MP-11 for a long time, and now getting MP-52 and seeing them side by side, MP-52 is clearly superior as a Starscream. He's still Starscream. If you have him on your shelf and you're happy with him, by all means, he's a nice representation of Starscream. But if you're looking for, you know, an old school classic, straight out of the cartoon Starscream, this one clearly, hands down, wins. Not, again, it's easier to knock some pieces loose in jet mode, but it's still a nice jet mode and a far superior robot, just for the sake of that. And while I didn't bring out all my MPs, I didn't bring out every single Masterpiece figure that I could have, I did, of course, get Megatron out, because you got to see Starscream with Megatron, and they look really good together. Again, because of that cartoon aesthetic. And again, in this light, in robot mode, I feel like the gray on Starscream's maybe a smidge darker than I'd prefer. If it were just, like, I feel like it should be slightly closer to Megatron's gray, or maybe even a smidge lighter than Megatron, is how I remember it, but it's possible I'm remembering that wrong. But he's still a very nice looking Starscream. Again, we skipped the foot plane mode. You can do that if you want. I did it to take, I was doing the instructions and realized, oh, that's a step, and we weren't actually going all the way to robot mode here this time, because then you have to untransform a lot of the back end of the plane to start transforming it back to robot mode. You can do it if you want, but really, I took one picture of it and been like, okay, that's a thing, and I don't know that he will ever go back to that mode again. But yeah, very nicely done. I don't know, I certainly don't think we need all three Seekers again, but this is it's kind of the same feeling I had, like Megatron. Certainly, when they said when they showed him off MP-36, and we're like, we're redoing MP-37, whatever. Megatron. That one made sense because the old Megatron was designed in like 3 days and it showed. When they announced another Optimus Prime after MP-10, it was like, do we really need one? And then I got him in hand and I'm like, well, that really does have the cartoon Optimus that I remember look to it, and I was okay with it. Same with Starscream. It was like, do we need another Seeker mode? Well, I mean, yes. So I think if you're a fan of Starscream, it's absolutely worth picking up. They're not cheap. You're going to be spending almost $1,000 on just the 3 Seekers if you want to get all 3. But this is one of those few instances where I think it's worth the upgrade. Certainly for Starscream. Anyway, there it is. MP-52 Starscream version. As they say, version 2.0. Very nice, very cool. Only a couple minor quibbles. And again, he's standing just fine. Like I do find those knees to be a little on the annoying side, especially if you're trying to get him in more of a dynamic pose. At least on mine, they could be tighter on yours. I don't know, and I haven't found a way to tighten them yet. But very good-looking robot mode, very fun jet mode, and very interesting transformation. And like I said, backpack not nearly as egregious in hand as I thought it was going to be based on pictures. It's actually a pretty comprehensive and solid, coherent Starscream, and I love the way they did this engineering. As much as it makes it a little bit more fiddly in plane mode, I really love how they got all of that stuff to store back here in the wings. I think that's fantastic, and keep it clean down here. I wish maybe the side had been smoother, so you didn't have to see this little rivet here on his legs, but still far cleaner legs for MP Starscream than we've gotten previously, and it just looks really nice. All in all, I think it's worth the upgrade. It's a lot of fun to play with. It looks fantastic. I also forgot to show off, he still has these missiles for some reason. I don't know if those were ever in the cartoon or if that's just a feature like that radar nose cone that hung around from previous iterations, but there you go. MP-52 Starscream.